Welcome to MIT Scratch. MIT Scratch is a programming software that is free online. All you have to do is go to scratch.mit.edu to get started. To get started, click the Create button. This is the Scratch workspace. All of the commands for motion will go in this area. This character right here, he's known as our sprite. For this simple and basic animation, all we're going to do is we're going to make our sprite travel all the way around this screen and eventually end up right where he started. Now, pay specific attention to the XY coordinates in all these motion commands as I move my sprite around. This will be handy in the future. For now, we want to make sure that our sprite always begins in this location when our program is run. So we're going to use this command that says go to XY. Now, all those numbers have already been pre-filled because we have moved our sprite. Notice that as if I move my sprite anymore, it will not populate these fields, only the ones in the commands that are to be used. If you make a mistake and you don't want to have a command out in your work area, you simply drag it back where it came from. So again, we're going to start with our sprite in this location. Now go ahead and drag the move 10 steps command. If I want to execute a command, I simply click on it. And you notice that our sprite moved 10 steps. If you click on it again, it moved another 10 steps. But it always goes back to the previous command. So in this case, we had a command to start off at this coordinate and move 10 steps. So every time you click on that, it's going to put our sprite back in that coordinate and move it 10 steps. The reason you don't see it happening is because this is a linear script and it runs on computer time, so it's real time. In order to add the delay, we're going to go in here into Control, and we're going to have it wait 1 second before it moves its 10 steps. So now, when you execute this command, you notice he goes to his original starting spot and then moves his 10 steps. But remember, we wanted to make sure he went all around the screen. So, go back to the motion. Okay, so instead of moving these 10 steps, we're going to select a different command. So remember, we just grab the command we don't want and we put it back in the area where all the commands came from. And now we're actually going to create a command to make this little guy go down and then all the way around. So remember, this is where his starting point is. So I'm going to use a different command. I'm going to use this glide to command. So I'm simply going to put my sprite where I want him to be next. Remember, that populates my coordinates where I want them, and I'm going to grab this glide. And basically what's going to happen is he's going to glide from this position down to where I want him next in the time of 1 second. So let's see how that works. It takes him a whole second to get there. From here, I'm going to move him to this specific spot here. Again, it pre-fills out all of these coordinates, and I'm simply going to grab it, put it there. And I'm going to continue the process, taking a few steps at a time as I go. Now, it's not necessary to make little stops along the way, but for the sake of this tutorial, I will be doing these. So we'll continue to move along and entering these commands as we go. Now, I do want him to start and end in the exact same position. So I'm looking at this coordinate, and I'm just going to copy that, negative 175. I got pretty close. And we'll change the y-axis to a 5. Okay, so now when I click on it and execute this program, notice how he runs around the entire screen seamlessly. Now there was really no need to have all these commands, but I did want to be able to insert certain movements and looks in between these, and that's why I did that. Our basic animation is technically done. We are going to add a little bit of a different dynamic by having our sprite go ahead and interact with the audience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to looks, and I'm going to have him be interrupted at different spots. So right here I'm going to have him say hello for 2 seconds, and then he will continue to move. Right around here I'm going to have him say, I'm going to have him ask a question. And then again, right in here, I'm going to have him think. Now there's a difference between when he says something and he thinks, and so he'll be saying these for 2 seconds each. Let's see how this looks. The last thing I'm going to have him say is goodbye. Since this is the last thing, I can just put here. Now, there's one more thing I need to do in order to make these functions work. So I need to go to events, and this is one thing that we need to do for every single program. So basically, this program here basically states, whenever you click the green flag, no matter where this sprite is, he will start and execute this program. So now let's see how this works. If we click the green flag, he goes back to the original space. He says hello. And he finishes the program. Well, there you go. That's the basic animation for you. Make sure you click below where I have put the actual link to the program itself so that you can run it yourself. Have a great time. Thank you for watching.